Okay, it looks like we're good.
Whoa, we did it.
Nice. I think there's actually people here, so we'll just
Whoa,
start. Cause
sweet.
yeah, why not?
Sounds great. You're my I have to the people watching, I can't tell how many of you there are or anything. Anthony is my eyes and ears here today. And
Yes,
yeah.
please pray for us. Because I'm just opening it now just to make sure I can see everything. Because sometimes the chat isn't that great on the Streamlabs. So
Oh, okay. Anthony told me there's 2 million people here. It's a little small. I was hoping
actually,
for
we're
more.
just short of 2 million.
Just short of 2 million.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's not that many.
We'll do our best. We'll do our best.
Nice. Yeah, it looks good. Yeah, we got 27 people tuning in. So yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in.
Thank you.
We're only late by 3 minutes, which is perfect. We didn't do any sort of intro. We're just getting right into it. I'm here with Lucas Ray from Music by Lucas, teammbl.com, and I'll introduce you. I'm sure you could do a better job since it's you, but like from what I've had some awesome conversations with Lucas, and like he's told me his journey, and it's so fascinating when he went from his like corporate job to finally like going for music, and it's really inspiring, and I'm hoping you can kind of rehash that as we do our hour here. But
Yeah.
I thought that was the best part, was just like you always love to hear about the person overcoming the fear of just diving right in head first, and it's the best thing. So he's a incredible social media coach specifically for musicians, like how people can promote themselves in a sea of endless music, and how can you stand out and give value to people so they listen to your music. And that's what we're going to be digging into today. He's got a whole plan here that we're going to dig into, and I'll be here adding colorful commentary, but I'll let you take over and get right into it. So if you're here watching and you want to learn how to grow your social media fan base and you release music, this is for you. So stay watching.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for that intro. That was really nice. Yeah. I'm excited that everybody is here. This is, all I do. I help music artists grow on social media, and it's the best job ever. It's something that I wished someone was doing back when I was starting out in music, because going back, like you were saying, to the beginning, I had struggled with music for a long time. Growing up, I had tried all sorts of different paths and kind of kept failing. And I finally got like a corporate job. I went to school, did the whole thing. Like I felt like music wasn't really going to work out. I was also kind of anti-social media at the time. So if any of you guys out there are feeling like social media is not for you, or if you feel like it's a grind or it's a struggle, frustrating, all those kind of things, don't worry, I got you, because I swear I was in that same exact spot, and now it's literally what I teach and am very passionate about. It's the thing that I am like diving into every day. So that's weird, right? How that flip can happen, but it can happen. So I was working that corporate job, and this was like 6-7 years ago, and I had all but given up. But the thing was, working that corporate job, it was supposed to be this like, it was supposed to be the answer. It was going to be the thing I was going to focus on. I was going to work at a bank. I was going to make, a good living, and I was going to feel good and responsible and all that kind of stuff. What ended up happening was I was a creative person who was doing a non-creative job, and it was really draining me. Like I was sitting at that desk wearing a suit, waking up early, sitting in traffic, and going to night school at the time. And it was just killing me inside, slowly but surely. I didn't know it at first, but after a while, I was like, feeling stress and all that kind of stuff. And I decided I need to take a break and I need to go on a trip. A couple of my friends from the bank decided to go to Las Vegas, and they asked me, are there any like cool artists playing? And I was looking up, artists. I saw Tiesto was playing. I was like, let's go see Tiesto. So we go see Tiesto, and I have this moment that was like the moment where I was standing there, watching him perform and doing what he loves. And I was realizing, and I was looking at the crowd, and they were enjoying it too, and seeing that whole situation happen. And I realized right then and there that I had to give music another try. I had this like moment where I was like, I can't quit. I have to make the decision now to go for it. So I didn't quit my job right away, because I needed that, and I was still going to school. But I decided at that moment, which is kind of funny because it was the moment I had the least amount of time on my hands, because I was so busy already with work and school, that I would, do music and make that happen. And it was just little steps. It was little things every day. And it was also social media that made the big game changing move, because I was always talented at music. Like, that was not the issue. I didn't know it until later, but the issue was I didn't know how to connect with an audience. I didn't know how to build a community. And those are the things that really changed my life. And those are the things that I'm going to teach you today in the easiest way possible, because I've been doing this for a while now, and I know some of these tricks, these tweaks, and none of these are like hacks. I don't have like hacks for you. I have like proven systems that will make your life easier and make it less frustrating when it comes to social media. So I think that's also really cool. Like, I'm not going to tell you to use a certain amount of hashtags and post at a certain time every day or something like that. I'm going to give you actual, like, actionable things that you can put into action. I'm saying action a lot, to do and make things happen. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, that's the best story ever. Just like you go to a concert, you have that, it's just a snap of, inspiration. And then you're like, okay, it's all clear now. I have to do this. What was the first, like, before we start, what was the first post you made after you had that realization?
Yeah, so back then it was kind of a different atmosphere. There really wasn't many people who were teaching music production at the time. And so my partner, Lauren, who some of you may know if you know Team MBL, she's a filmmaker, and she was like, you need to start a YouTube channel. You need to teach people how to make music, because I told you that's what I knew how to do. Like, that wasn't the problem. It was the fact that I didn't have the audience yet. So I started doing social media. Actually, I was even doing some social media marketing for music even pretty early on, because I started to notice how important it was. I started making videos about that too. But YouTube is really where I started making videos, tutorials for music.
Nice.
Yeah.
So let me, Lucas has an amazing layout here. So I'm just going to switch the scenes so you can all see.
Oh,
and
cool.
Feel free to take the reins, and I'm looking forward to just hearing this out, because I need help with this as well, and like I'm sure a lot of people are in the same situation. So
yeah, absolutely. And like I said, don't feel bad if you don't know all this stuff. This is now what I do full time. It's my thing I'm the most passionate about. So now I'm making music, but it's not like my main focus is education, and that's what ended up becoming my thing and the thing that I really love to do. So yeah, my job is to teach this stuff to you and to make it easy for you. It's not your job to necessarily know all of this stuff backwards and forwards. But yeah, let's jump into it. So these are the 24 steps. I made this presentation actually in the beginning of 2024. I was trying to come up with 24 steps for 2024, and it still holds true. I know it's only been like a month, so I've tweaked it a little bit, but this is that, and I'll go through that with you now. So the first thing is to set goals not around followers and views, but around how you will get them. So basically, what I want you to do is I want you to envision yourself in your end goal. So let's say 2 years from now or a year from now. I don't want you to think too far off, because that can get more difficult. But let's say 1 to 2 years from now, I want you to think like, how many, what kind of community do you want? How many followers do you want? What kind of, all that kind of stuff. Work backwards from there. So I want you to think, instead of like, that's what's going to help you actually get those followers and those numbers, is putting in the actual habits and the steps to do that. I think a lot of people miss that, and they just go, oh, I need to do this trend because it's trendy, or I need to do this, I need to post because I have a new song coming out. But they don't actually take the time to like put in the system of like, I need to come up with a system to post 3 times a week, on these days, and film on these days. And they don't make it easy for themselves. They make it hard because it's kind of like sporadic and you don't have a flow. So you need to have like a flow down, and that's what's going to keep you going. Because ideally, you don't want to have to be in a situation where every day that it's time to post, if it's a day you post, that you're having to come up with the post on the spot, and you're having to, if you have to do that every time and start from scratch, it is going to be really difficult to keep that going, because consistency is like the most important thing when it comes to social media and with music. Like, you have to practice your music, you have to get better, you have to learn from, if you don't know how to mix, you have to learn all that kind of stuff. So it's the same thing with social media. And so having those systems is going to be the big game changer for you, because it becomes then more like, a little bit more autopilot. Like some of those things don't take as much time as they used to. Maybe you have like a list of ideas. Maybe you have a day that you film everything, and we'll talk about that in a second. Maybe you have a day that you edit everything, and then maybe you have like weeks of content in advance, or maybe you have a new release coming out, and instead of you having to like come up with the content on release day, you actually have the content ready, and you feel a lot less stressed about that. But the funny thing also is that social media, I actually don't spend my entire day doing posts. I only spend an hour or two, and it's, again, what I do. Like, it's like my full-time job, and I only spend like an hour or two a day prepping content. And the reason for that is because of the systems that I've created. And it's taken me a while to do that. And everyone's system is going to be a little bit different. So like I said, don't be too hard on yourself. But creating that is going to be the first steps. And I'll talk to you about kind of like a basic system idea coming up here in a second.
Nice.
Right.
Yeah, some stuff in the chat here. Pete Bass says, I hope we get some actionable advice. Yes.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
will. And Dead Man said, he asked the same question to ChatGPT today, and it told me to organize a press conference.
A press conference. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it depends on the prompt that you're asking ChatGPT, but I don't think you need to organize a press conference. Obviously, ChatGPT will get better with time and have better tips. But I do, if you see here, I do have a schedule for you guys, which you will see down there. All right. Number 2, know your why. So this kind of goes with tip number 1, but basically know why you're posting. So it can't just be you're posting to post, and it also shouldn't be that you're just, posting to promote your new track. Like, there should be some underlying reason why you feel like the content you're making is, doing something bigger. Like, for example, like, who are you posting for? Like, is the person that you're making music for, is this someone who, for example, is like, are you making music and posting it to inspire people? Are you doing it to motivate people? Are you doing it to help them get through the day? Are you doing it to, push the genre that you're creating forward? Are you, basically, if you can make what you do bigger than just, I have to post because I have to post, it's going to be more enjoyable, it's going to be more authentic, and you're going to show up more to actually do it. So for me, for example, what really motivates me, and of course we're all different, you guys aren't required to do education or do tutorials or any of that stuff, and we'll talk about that in a little bit too, but what gets me going is you guys. So it's the idea of seeing people break through, getting their music heard, having that moment where they're like, wow, there actually are fans out there for my music. I'm not shadow banned. It's not the algorithm. It is possible for me to get out there and get my music heard. So that is one of the things that really keeps me going. That's my why. So again, you may not know that at first, but sometime maybe when you're, on a walk or not producing or you're bored, maybe think about that. That could be something that you have written down on your phone, like, why do I want to be on social media? Why do I want to post? And that could be something that you could brainstorm on, because it's going to take some introspective thinking.
Yeah, and like, if I could expand on that, from what I've learned so far, it's like people are on there to get value from something, to be entertained about something. And like, it's like, how can you, as your unique person, there's only one of you in the world, how can you bring value to others? And it's not just about your music, it's about you and how you
That's
can
an interesting
bring,
point, because a lot of artists will ask that question, what does value mean? There's some confusion around that. So value isn't necessarily teaching, and it's not necessarily like, you're not required to be, like, this word gets thrown around a lot, but like influencer, like, you're not required to basically play a role. You're supposed to be yourself, and the value you give can be the way you inspire people with your music, or it can be the feeling that you give them, or it could be something like education. If you do want to do tutorials, like maybe you do sound design tips, and that's the value that you give. So value takes different forms, and the cool thing is there's no one way to make it. There are people who are very successful being introverted. There are people that are very successful being extroverted, and they give different value. Like, some people you'll see, they do comedy through music, and so you'll see them kind of doing like tutorials, but they're like funny, like they're like screeching a chair and they're recording it and making a funny face and doing this thing. And then on the complete opposite, there's someone who's like, very serious and barely looks at the camera, and it's more moody and more emotional, and maybe there's, like dark lighting and stuff like that, because that's them. Or maybe it's someone who's going to write a lot of text in their videos about the vibes, and they're going to get real deep because that's the kind of person they are. Maybe they're very analytic, like they get real deep about stuff. Whereas there might be people who are just like, this is a song you're going to rave to at 3 a.m. Like the exact opposite. Like they're going to be much more like, but this is all different personalities, right? So you embrace that authenticness that is you. And that's the difference between just taking a trend and then being authentically yourself, which is really important, because the problem with the trends are they're always switching. And so I'm not telling you not to do trends. We'll talk about that in a second. But what I am telling you is if you're always just doing whatever the latest trend is without tweaking it in your own style, you never really find your audience. You never bring out yourself, and people can tell. People connect with authenticity, and they, you'll attract. For example, if you're attracting introverts because you're introverted, and then all of a sudden you switch to an extroverted trend, that might not be the same for them. Like they came for the vibes, they came for that deep, dark, analytical person, whatever. And now you're switching it up on them. So being authentic will help you be more consistent long term. But let's go to number 3, because this one's really fun, which is focus on less and get more. So the popular idea a couple years ago, and even last year, was that you got to post a million times. You got to post on every social platform. You got to get out there. You got to hustle. And the truth of it is, and this is my opinion, but I think it's the correct one, which is that if you focus on less, you will actually get more. So for example, this goes across everything. So with social media, if you don't post on every platform, in my opinion, especially to start, focus on the one that makes the most sense for you, start there, get good at it, get to know what works on it, grow there, and then expand from there. So for example, if Instagram's your thing, focus on Instagram, find reference accounts on Instagram, learn what works on Instagram, what doesn't. Start with a couple posts a week, get quality posts, move on from there, get your flow down, build your schedule, and then start adding more posts, maybe add stories, and then move on to lives. And then once you've mastered Instagram, or you feel more confident on Instagram, move on to the next platform if that's what you want to do, or don't. There's certain people who are big on TikTok and they don't have any other platform. They're just like huge on TikTok. Maybe Instagram, they just post some fun pics for their friends and family, but they're just big on TikTok and they're still huge. And then there's other people who are just like really big on YouTube, for example, and that's their thing. They do long tutorials, whatever. They're just not on every platform. So you don't have to do every platform. I think it's much better for you to get down what works on one before you move on. And this even happens with music too. So for example, if you were to focus on every music genre, like if you challenged yourself to get good at, let's just use the number 24 for 2024, 24 genres, you're going to learn pop, soul, jazz, or 24 different instruments. You have to practice them all. Are you really going to get that good at any particular one? No, you're going to be okay at a bunch, right? It's the same thing on social media. Like nailing down what works for you takes time. So being able to actually invest time in one thing or two things is going to give you better results most of the time, in my opinion, than focusing on a million. So, and it's the same thing. Even I just want to throw in one more thing, which is a lot of people think that you should post the same video on Shorts, TikTok, and Instagram and see if it pops off. Not really, because the algorithms and I don't really like using the word algorithm. It's really because the algorithm is a lot of times dictated by people's behaviors. So it's what people enjoy. So people's behaviors and the type of person who uses those different platforms is interested in different stuff. People who are on TikTok are not the same exact type of people on average as the people on Instagram. On average, they're the same people as YouTube. They like different types of content. So just pushing the same thing out on all three isn't necessarily the best strategy as figuring out what actually works on one. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm guilty of that.
Me too. So I totally get it. Okay, I will try to also speed it up a little bit because I know we need to get through more of these. So stop overcomplicating, instead simplify everything. So this is where, and I have a lot of, Anthony can share it, but I have a newsletter where I give a weekly guide each week on one of these topics and I break it down. It's teammbl.com/newsletter is the link where you can sign up for that. It's free. But basically, this is one where I talk about it a lot, which is stop overcomplicating, simplify everything. So you should be over time figuring out, your caption structure, your video structure, your type of font you use, your type of camera angle you use, what outfits you wear in your videos. Basically, the more you simplify things and do things on repeat and just tweak them and tweak what works, kind of like fill in the blank, template, that kind of stuff, the easier it's going to be for you to be able to do your social posts. So for example, if you have a new release coming out, you, instead of just like creating the content for it, take the time the first time or next time to actually like write down your process, 10 days before I do this, 7 days before I do that. The more you can create a blueprint, and of course, each time you're going to tweak it a little bit because it's not always going to be the same. Sometimes, maybe things have changed, or maybe you've changed. But having the blueprint in the first place is going to be amazing, because when I come into post, it's so helpful. I have everything sorted out, and I can be like, okay, it's Wednesday. Wednesday, I do this. At this time, I do this. Here's the hashtags that I usually use. They're right here. This is just like, say, I don't want to have to be constantly having to go back and forth and redoing a lot of the same work. I want to be able to I want to optimize a little bit. I want to try to get like 1% better every time I post, or every week or every month, so that over time that compounds and it gets easier and easier.
Nice. If I could just interject here with some chat comments. I think a lot of musicians are crippled by comparison and not even starting because they don't feel as talented. That's a heavy thought. And like, the thing is, if you think that way, you'll never start. So, I mean, starting is the first step to doing it. So you have to just do it and get it out of the way, and start to get better at it. And anyone,
do you know if they're talking about, that's such a good point. I was just going to ask, do you know if they're talking about comparison with like, they don't feel like they're as good at social media, or they don't feel like they're as good at music as other people?
I think it could go both ways.
Okay. Because what I was going to say is, on the social media side is, I mean, this is why I said don't be too hard on yourself, because getting good at anything takes practice, right? You have to actually put yourself out there. Like imagine if you never started producing because you immediately thought that you weren't as good as Martin Garrix or whoever the producer is you're comparing yourself with, Zed or whatever. Like, obviously you're not as good at them. They've been doing it for a long time. They're one of the best. We tend to do this thing where we compare our day one to someone else's like year 10 or day 1000. Like, why are we doing this? I do this too. And the problem with it is it's an endless battle. So no matter how good I get, there will always be someone else out there who's better than me at something. And even if I was the biggest account on Instagram, there'd be someone bigger than me on TikTok. There'd be someone bigger than me on YouTube. Even if I was the biggest on all of those, maybe, I wouldn't be something else. So that's the thing, is you basically just want to focus on getting 1% better and know that that's going to compound over time. Another thing to know too is that, and this is another thing that a lot of artists, I think it's inspiring to know, which is that when you're starting out, people don't want you to be that good. So remember this. People, if you were starting out on Instagram right now and you had like, let's say you have like 800 followers and you were posting content that was like the highest quality, the best of the best, people would be confused. Like, it would be like, why are you so small? I don't get it. Like, people want to actually be with you on your journey as you get better. That makes more sense, but also they will root for you more. So they want to be able to say they knew you back when. It's like, for example, when you know about an artist, way before someone else did, and they're like showing you their song and you're like, dude, I've known about them since 2017 or whatever, and you feel good about that. Like, you were there for that beginning of that journey. Like, people want that. They want to root for you. They want you. And in fact, this is like a hot take, some people say that big labels are asking artists to actually pretend like they're more just starting out, so that they're more relatable. So it's kind of a gift actually to be more relatable, because it's almost easier to it's less pressure. When you're really big, the pressure is on. You have to live up to the hype. So people don't expect you to be the perfect right away. So just know that. Interesting.
Yeah. I don't want to derail the 24 here, but
all
the
good.
money we earn from streaming is so small compared to what we used to earn before streaming went crazy. I mean, that's a good comment. I don't think we can cover that now, but that's a whole other topic.
We could do an entire class on that. For sure, streaming is not what it used to be. The good news, though, is that there are a lot of new tools that are out there for artists, and I do see a lot of artists going full-time more often. One of the coolest things that I like about the landscape that we're in right now, and I think people forget, but there are a lot less gatekeepers right now than there used to be. So you used to have someone sign you. You used to have to, get in the door to even have a chance. You would have to do certain things. You'd have to move to a city. Like, maybe you had to move to LA Like, you can't make it in the small town in the state you live in. You have to go to LA. You have to bang on those doors. You have to play at those clubs. You have to do this. You don't have to do that anymore. Like, I think people forget because obviously a lot of us are younger too, but maybe it's helpful to go talk to some older artists sometimes. That could be a really interesting book, would be just interviewing some, like, 40 plus year old artists and have them talk to all of us about, their struggles. Cause we all talk about social media, but I feel like, I don't know, there's always been struggles. They take different shapes. But yeah, I hope that I'm able to help you here with a lot of these social media tips. I'll jump into number 5 real quick. Choose your target audience. So this can get a little bit tricky. People are like, who's my target audience? I don't get it. I'm not a brand. What are you talking about? So your target audience is just essentially who you'd want to hang out with, who you'd want to, if you're doing education, who you'd want to teach. If you are creating music, it's like who, you would want to hear your music. Like, if you had the opportunity to, like, who do you think would vibe to it? Who do you think your music is for? That's how you want to kind of shape your target audience. So for me, my target audience is me, like 5-6 years ago, when I wish that someone like me now existed to help them. So I know what I was struggling with, and I know how to basically help that person who is where I used to be. But if you're a music artist, again, is if you're making rave music mixed with techno music, like, maybe your target audience is from a certain country, maybe they are a certain age group, maybe they like certain artists. Like, knowing these things is going to help you be able to tweak, and reach those people. It's very important, because also then you know what kind of content to make. Like, the fact that I know who my target audience is and what their pain points are, like what they need help with, it makes it so much easier for me to actually come up with content, because I just think about what those things are that they need help with. And it's the same thing, like, if you're doing sound design tips, like, think to yourself, like, what would have helped you learn sound design? Or if you're doing DJ tips, and again, you don't have to do tips. So that's something for you to know too. You can either inspire, motivate, or educate. Those are 3 really good buckets, depending on what you want to get into. But I will refer to education a lot, just because it's what I do all the time. So, but there are different buckets and they all work. Moving into niche. So a lot of people ask me, what's the difference between target audience and niche? So your niche, really niche should be number 5, and 6 should be target audience, because your niche is the bigger one and your target audience is within that niche. So let's say your niche is people who like rave music. So let's say it's rave, and your target audience is, someone within that is a certain age range, who maybe likes a certain types of artists within the rave culture, who, is, so that's kind of how you break that down. But basically your niche is like your bubble. And then within that bubble, it's like, is your target audience. So hope that makes some sense.
Nice.
And we'll keep moving.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Embrace your unique edge and hobbies. So a lot of people don't really want to be themselves, and it's the easiest thing to be. Like I just talked about earlier, like, people want to root for you. They want to feel connected with you. Like, if you think about it, the people that you remember and you connect with, like, let's say you go to a party, the people that you connect with and remember are the ones that you related to, or that, you made a connection with. So maybe you were talking and you both realized that you really like this new TV show. Like, we'll just throw it out there. Let's say it's Star Wars. I don't know. I'm just going to put it out there because I have it listed on here. But let's say you guys are both talking about how you're just not fans of, the new Star Wars shows that are on Disney Plus, and you like the old ones better. And, this is, you have the same opinions on this thing. You're going to connect. You're going to have this connection. You're going to remember each other. It's kind of like a very basic way to put this is like when you go to a bar or a pub, if you're from the UK, and you see someone wearing the same jersey as you, the same sports team, like, you're going to be cheering at the same time when your team scores. You're going to be wanting to, talk to each other more, or, party together. So you make connections. These things are important. Like, that's why, again, if you're into something like Star Wars, you'd want to maybe put some of like, let's say you collect action figures from Star Wars. Okay. Maybe you want to have some in your studio behind you in your videos. Let's say that you like a certain sports team. Maybe you want to wear their jersey in your videos. It's going to help you make these connections. It's going to make you feel more authentic, but even your unique edge could be your talents. So for example, with your music, maybe you're really good at making big fat leads on your drops or vocal chops, or, you have a certain skill within your music that's just special, something that's unique to you. Bring that out more. Have that be more of your content. For example, I know an artist who was a concert pianist from childhood, but never brought that into his content. So when I talked to him, I was like trying to figure out, what are your unique edges? What are your hobbies? Tell me more about you. He's telling me about this concert pianist background, and he's never bringing this into his content. And I'm very surprised by this. And to him, the funny thing about it is, to him, he thought that'd be like boring, because like he did that as a kid. Like it's something just so basic to him. It doesn't seem exciting. It doesn't seem interesting. Who's going to be into that? He wasn't really seeing other people on Instagram doing it. He was like, will it even work? I don't know if it's a trend. Maybe I got to copy what so-and-so's doing. So we pushed a little bit and we said, no, you should try to bring out this Concert Pianist 5. He literally goes from getting hundreds of views or like low thousands views to having first a video that got 700,000 views, and then a video like literally a month later that got 3.2 million views.
Oh my gosh.
Of him bringing in the Concert Pianist vibes to his videos. And the cool thing is, people come for that and then can convert into his other music. So it's the same thing like when you do a remix of something. Like, again, we'll just go with Star Wars, but let's say you are a tech house artist and you do a remix where you do Star Wars, but it's tech house. Here's the thing that's so cool about that. You reach this audience of Star Wars fans who may or may not know about tech house or like it, and you convert a good amount of those people, or an amount of those people that you wouldn't have been able to convert before. You may not have been able to ever reach them because, you know, the algorithm wouldn't have known your content was for them. Like, they're interested in Star Wars stuff. They're engaging with that. How's the algorithm supposed to know that your music should get to them, whether they like tech house or not? So it's just an interesting point about embracing these things that are you. Yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah.
Cool.
And then you don't know like who you'll connect with based on those things that are kind of tertiary to your music creation, right? So
even with us, I mean, me and Anthony, like we've chatted a few times, but we don't know that much about each other yet. The more we talk, maybe we would find more things that connect us. Like, maybe we would, talk about that's what I said, the party example. Cause when you first meet someone at a party, you're doing the basics, hi, how are you? I'm so-and-so, oh man, that rain outside. Oh, it's rough out there. Like, you have no connection yet, but the more that you get deeper, the more you realize, interesting, we both went to the same high school, or, we both have parents from the same, whatever. So the more you can make these connections happen with your audience too on social media, the deeper you're going to be able to have loyalty with your audience, which I think is really cool. So that's kind of point 8.2. So I will skip to point 9. So realize most of your growth will come from just a few of your posts. The reason why I want to bring this up, and in fact, the number is something like 90% of your growth comes from 10% of your posts. The reason why I want to bring this up is because I just want to hit home again, not to be so hard on yourself when you have a post that misses. So 9 out of 10 of your posts are not meant to do well. If you keep that in your mind and you remember that, like, that's a really helpful thing to remember. Like, you literally aren't supposed to do well most of the time. But that's why consistency is so important, and why you want to make those small tweaks with your posts and your content and make those 1% better improvements, because that's what's going to be able to help you have that 10% that is going to bring the followers. Like, for example, the pianist I was telling you about, not all of his posts are going to have 3.2 million views, but the 3.2 million views post is going to bring a lot of followers. And in fact, in his case, it brought over 10,000 followers to his Instagram, new followers. So that is super cool. So yeah, just know that. And the point is to try to get your batting average up. So more sports analogies, each time you go up to in baseball, each time someone goes up to the plate and tries to hit, they have a batting average. How many times? I actually don't know what it means, but it's like how many. Let's just imagine it's how many times you hit the ball. So your goal is to improve that batting average. You're trying to hit the ball more often by tweaking and improving your posts, getting better, being more consistent, all that kind of stuff, and you're going to hit home runs more often when you do that. Okay, number 10, real quick, and then I want to see if there's any more questions. Realize the algorithm isn't against you. So again, I want to break down that stigma that a lot of people just think algorithm, robot, I have no control, all that kind of stuff. But the real thing is that the algorithm is just people's behaviors. And, that's why certain types of content perform well at certain times. Maybe people are more into video, or maybe, that's the new, trend or whatever that's going on. Or maybe, for example, there's possibilities that the algorithm is more involved, where like they want you to see more videos because that's like the thing that they're pushing. That's possible too. But knowing that it's not against you. It's just trying to tell you something. It's trying to tell you, for example, that your posts aren't connecting with people. Maybe, you don't like, for example, there's reasons why, if I go to, I'll switch my tab here. So can you guys see my Instagram? Is that up right now?
Yep.
Okay. There's a reason why I use these. They're called text hooks. So text hooks, you'll also see music artists using these all the time. Mine have to do with social media, and they have to do with my target audience. There's a reason why I write them on all of my posts, and it's because I'm trying to make it very quickly known who my post is for. So in this new post I just posted today, I said, if I were starting over from 0 followers as a music artist, ... and then it says, I would do this. I am telling you right away that my post is about social media tips, because I'm saying if I were starting over from 0, and I'm telling you I'm looking for music artists, it's right there. And that's why you see some artists say things like, if Avicii was tech house, or imagine hearing this song at a club at 2 a.m. They're trying to reach people that are into music. They're trying to reach people that are into, like with the Avicii example, people that were fans of Avicii. They're trying to tell the algorithm and tell the people who are watching who their content is for. So that's what I'm saying when I'm talking about, tweaking your content and realizing that the algorithm isn't against you. Maybe you're not doing that. Maybe the content isn't optimized. And yes, you do have to do more than just, press release on your song. There are more steps required. And I know that it can be a lot to create content, but I can also tell you that there is something so magical when you get it down. And when you start getting an audience that's there for it, when you start getting those comments from people that say things like, I was driving to work today, I was having a really bad day, and your song got me through it. Or I listened to your song when I ran my last marathon, and, I just went through some really hard times. The doctor said I wouldn't, walk again, and I just finished a marathon, and your song, helped motivate me. That is the stuff. Like when you reach those people that you didn't know you were going to reach before, or when you're able to book a tour because of the fact that you have this community, or when you're able to succeed without a record label, or without the powers that be, or without a Grammy award, or without, getting on every Spotify playlist, because you have a social media community. These are big things that will make a big impact in your life. And so that's why I'm just trying to think about that, like all these things I talked about, motivating yourself to find your why, and to find, your schedule and everything to keep you going.
Nice.
All right. Yeah.
I think
Any other questions?
we have 41 people watching. So yeah, if you have a question, feel free to drop it in the chat, and we'll get to it eventually. But we had Andreas here a while ago. How do I post audio of my own music from SoundCloud or other streaming services on Instagram in a professional way, not recording with my phone?
So I'm gonna kind of surprise you here. I think you should record it with your phone. The reason why is because there's a couple things. One, it makes people want to hear the quality version on the other streaming platform. It's like more like, I got to hear this like in its entirety. I got to hear the greatness. But also there's something else to be said. When you post stuff, first off, the standard kind of on Instagram right now is to record it with your phone. And the reason why I love this so much is because it means you don't have to spend 100 hours mixing, mastering, doing all these things on your track before you post it. You can share an unedited or not super, super polished version, and the listener won't really be able to tell because it's not being, directly, you're not having the WAV file in there or whatever, which is really nice because you can then get feedback from your audience, as in like see how it performs, and then know if you want to go all in and finish that track. Like it saves you a lot of time. You can honestly and I've talked about this in other classes and I teach this a lot as well, but you should be, in my opinion, just doing a drop. Just write a drop, for example, instead of a whole track, and share that, and then do that again, and then do that again. And when you see one pop off, be like, ooh, this is one I need to finish. And you may think that sounds a little weird, but it's what DJs have been doing for a super long time. They sneak unreleased songs of theirs into their sets, and when they see the crowd react to it, it's the test. Let's see if this moves, because a lot of times, for example, their tracks are for clubs because they're DJs. And so they're like, let's see how this one pops off. Because if it pops off without people, knowing the words or recognizing the song, that's a good sign. because if it's something fresh no one's ever heard before and it's popping off, like maybe I want to finish this. So yeah, that's one of my thoughts. But if you really did want to have the full wave file or whatever, you could use an external editor like InShot, or you could use there's basically different mobile editors or desktop editors, and you could have the actual audio file on there too.
Nice. Really great advice there. And that's similar to comedy too, right? Like comedians will bring in newer bits within old ones to test stuff out. And then refine, right?
Yeah, funnily enough, so I used to live in LA, and I used to go to a lot of comedy clubs because I knew people that would invite me to their shows and stuff like that. And yeah, people would stop by. I saw some of the biggest comedians, from Dave Chappelle to Bill Burr, et cetera, just stop in for like a random set because they're, again, what you said, testing their jokes before they do the Netflix special. So this is not uncommon in any industry to do stuff like this. And in fact, what we're seeing is artists who are pushing, instead of waiting until a track is finished to promote it, promoting it far before the release, building hype, realizing like, hey, I got to finish this song, finishing it and giving the updates along the way, building more hype with their audience, and then doing the countdown, finally releasing it and having it blow open doors. The other cool thing is on Instagram, your audio, it could just be, like I said, like a screen recording with your phone. That could still trend. Like, I don't know if you guys know about trending audio on Instagram or TikTok, but basically if you post a video with a certain audio and other people start using that audio in their videos, it can go trending, which means it gets pushed out, and people want to use audio that's trending because it can do better with the algorithm. And all of a sudden you can be racking up tons of followers. And in fact, that's how that pianist that I told you about got 3.2 million views. It was because the piano music that he used, played, ended up being used over and over by other people in their reels. It went trending and got tons of traffic over to his page from places that he wasn't expecting. So yeah, there can be some magic there. Yeah,
it's all connected. Wow. There's one more question. Well, more of a statement. Requires some vulnerability to really show who you are, but it does set you apart. I'm not sure what that's in context to, but even just doing a social media post requires some vulnerability and being authentic on these. Oh, did we lose you? We had this happen before. I just have to bring you back. Oh, okay. It was disconnected. So while I reconnect Lucas here, feel free to throw me any questions in the chat, and I can do my best to answer them, and I'll work on getting him back on here. Let's just see. But yeah, it's a super interesting stream so far, and it's kind of confirming a lot of the things that I was wondering about. Just hang tight. That's the beauty of live, I guess, is this is what could happen. But yeah, Lucas has his own course, and it's all about doing these types of things. We also have some great courses on Lander in our premium courses section, so you can check those out. So we'll just... he said, I lost you. Oh, there he is. Perfect.
Okay, cool.
There we go.
I'll share my screen again, too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I was just saying, that's the beauty of these things live, is that it's, while we're talking about vulnerability, we're extremely vulnerable to the internet connection here. So, yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. There we go.
It definitely feels vulnerable at first. I remember when I was first doing YouTube videos and I had no idea what to say, so I scripted everything out, and I would have to edit a couple words each time. Like, I couldn't even get out more than a few words before forgetting the rest. So now I can do these, streams where I just riff, and it's no problem. You know what I mean? But before I didn't. There was actually a video of me where I forgot my artist name. And that was my favorite because like, how does that happen? But you do get nervous. And I even get videos from, because I'll host events with bigger artists, and I'll get a video from them, for their Instagram story shout out, and they'll say, this was take 47, so this is not abnormal. Like, it's something to get used to. But yeah, do you want me to jump back in?
I'll just have just one remark on that. Just like, talk to like, and I made a social post on this for Lander, but talk to the camera like it's a person, like you're looking a person in the eye, you're looking in the lens like it's an eyeball basically.
It's
and
true.
You're going to be more conversational that way. If you can just pretend the camera is a person, maybe like give it a name if it helps.
Yeah, give it a name. Pretend like it's someone that is your target audience is the best. Like don't pretend that it's your mom or your dog or something like that. Pretend that it's that's why some people come up with names for their avatar, which their avatar is their ideal listener. So their ideal music listener, maybe their name is Josh and maybe they live in, a certain country and they like a certain style of music and they're this old and they, go to the nightclubs or whatever. Like you try to think like, okay, here's Josh. I'm going to talk to him. Okay. So these are all helpful techniques.
That energy goes through the camera. Like people feel it on the other end. But anyway, go ahead. I want to make sure you can get through this. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll try to go faster. Tweak trends. So again, you're scrolling through on Instagram, for example, and on TikTok, they have like a For You page. Instagram's is harder to find. You have to click the little Reels button on the bottom of the screen. TikTok's just opens when you open it. But essentially scroll through. When you spot videos that you think are, well, first off, you see that they're trending, like you see that they're doing really well. And you could think of a way you could flip it in your style. That's a good one to save. And then you can put it in a folder of saved, like on Instagram, you can create folders, saved folders, and you can call it like ideas or inspiration or trends to tweak or whatever. And the trend doesn't even have to be about music. It could be like, for example, let's say, again, you're doing education. And let's say you see someone that says 7 things I wish I knew when I started cooking. And you're like, well, I do sound design tips. How about 7 things I wish I knew when I started sound design? Like you can flip things like that very easily. Or if you see, again, if it's music related, maybe it's a pop artist and you see them doing something, but you are a hip hop artist, but you can still flip it. You know what I mean? So flipping trends in your style can be really helpful. You don't have to always do trends, but throwing a few in every once in a while can be cool to help you reach a new audience. All right, use reference accounts just like with music. Try to find some accounts on Instagram, TikTok, etc. that you can reference. So music, you reference songs, you reference artists, you learn from their mixing, you learn from their timing or their whatever. So, or maybe even learn from their branding. There's different ways to reference artists. So you can do the same thing on Instagram. One super tip I have for referencing artists on Instagram and TikTok is please don't reference super famous artists because those artists don't play by the same rules. They don't need to. So if you're referencing Justin Bieber or Taylor Swift, like they don't need to, they can do whatever they want, essentially. You should be referencing artists who are popping off now. So maybe ones that have been growing a lot in the last 6 months or a year, and maybe they have around 100,000 followers or 200,000, but they're not like millions. You know what I mean? Like, because your goal is you want to find people who are doing something right now, so that you could learn from them and figure out what are they doing right. Because I can tell you that all the artists who are growing on social media are doing it for $0 and are not doing it from, like I had someone recently who was like, I don't get it. This is what they told me. They said, I don't get it. I'm spending a bunch of money on ads. I'm paying influencers to shout me out. And they listed all these things that I was like, please don't do that. Like you don't need to do any of that. Your goal is to try to get people organically. So again, reference people who are popping off now. That's going to be a really good example of people who are doing it organically, and you can learn from their content. Okay, should I jump into the next one?
Go for it. Yeah, we have some questions, but I'll let you get a bit ahead, and then we can always do Q&A at the end. There's no hard stop. We try to keep it. We try to keep it to an hour, but if people are watching and they're enjoying it, I'm totally fine to go over.
Okay, we'll keep it going a little bit then. So This one I think you guys are all going to love. Feel free to take a screenshot. This is also, again, on my website. I have all my my newsletter there where I give out these guides. So it's teammbl.com/newsletter. And you can kind of see how to spell.
I'm just going to pop this in front here. Sorry.
Yeah.
So it's
cool.
Can I do that? Let's see. Watch
see
it break
if you
again.
can,
Yeah. There we go.
Just so you guys know where to find these. Yeah,
so on YouTube, I have okay. So there wasn't anything behind us there. That's great. Okay.
I can show it on my screen too, or maybe you can send it in the chat. Just send the link in the chat.
No, it's all good. I think. Yeah.
Okay.
If
I'll
you
keep
just
going.
Scroll down just a tad.
Yeah. Perfect. Is that good?
That's perfect.
Okay, so make organizing easy. So this is a simple example of a schedule. So let's say Monday you post, Tuesday it's optional. Maybe you just do a story or you do a bonus post, and then Wednesday you post. So basically, the idea of this is Monday, Wednesday, Friday you post, Saturday you film, Sunday you edit. Thursday you save your reference posts. So basically, it's just like a good flow because Thursday you're saving those reference posts, you're coming up with post ideas. And then on Saturday, you're filming those, and Sunday, you're editing. Now you have posts for the next week. So your goal here with this schedule is 3 posts a week and 1 day for gathering new posts, 1 day for filming, 1 day for editing. And ideally, it should take you less than an hour for each of these days. So probably the longest day would be the filming and the editing, probably an hour for each of those. But for the other days, if you already have your posts ready, it shouldn't take you more than like 30 minutes a day for those. So your goal is to really get this down, especially if you have another job or school or, it's just like you don't want to spend all your time on social media. Having a structure like this is going to make things a lot easier.
Nice. Yeah. And like my advice would be don't try to cram it. If you can only get 1 or 2 done in those hours, do that first and then get better. And this leads nicely to someone's question here. Yeah, feeling judged because your video editing skills or poor audio quality or even poor self-image can make it scary. But behind all that, you may be so talented. And that goes back to what you said about people wanting to follow you on that journey. So it's it all.
Yeah, I mean, I'll throw another example out there. So I don't know if you guys know who Sabrina Sides is. She does Logic Pro tips on Instagram. She's awesome. I know she's worked with Lander before. She has a great following, like 100 and something K. And she literally started her Instagram and she owned the fact that she didn't know how to use Logic Pro that much yet and how she was going to use her Instagram to take you along the journey as she was learning it. And that was one way that's one way you can do it. You can own it. So you can be like, you can almost like just tell people that you're trying to make, like I see a lot of people on Instagram that are like posting captions like, I have to make this post to hope people find my music, or I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm going to try this anyway. Like you can kind of own it in that way too. That's one direction you can take it. And there's no shame in that. Like in fact, like some people might even root for you more, but you also don't have to do that too. But I will say the whole like fake it till you make it thing. I don't know if I have that listed. Yeah. Number 20, I say, don't try to fake it till you make it, because it's not going to be something that you can do for the long term. It's not going to feel good. And you're better off trying to figure out what it makes you and unique to be able to, make long-term content. Faking it till you make it is like producing a genre that you hate. Like, why would you want to do that? Right. Wouldn't it be fun?
And the thing is, people, if you're saying I'm on this journey and I'm using a huge program that millions of people use, the chances are they're on the same journey as you. Yeah. And they're going to be, they're going to relate to you, and then they're going to find your music through that journey. So, and
every single year, people tell me that it's oversaturated social media. And even when I started, so in 2016, 2017, people said, you're too late. Social media is oversaturated. Instagram's oversaturated. And it's just funny because it never ends. So, you have to kind of get past that too. And realize
the audience just keeps growing, right? So like for it to be oversaturated, there need to be more creators than audience.
Yeah. And it's just like with music. So, maybe there's a lot of content out there. Like they talk about how there's like, bazillion songs uploaded to Spotify every day, but are they all good? Do they all connect with a certain target audience? Are they all quality? Are they, no is the answer, right? So it's like, you're not trying to reach everybody. You're trying to reach that avatar. You're trying to reach that target audience. Maybe it's someone who's into folk music, lives in Nashville, and, likes to go camping and likes music for their road trips, whatever. Like you're not trying to reach everybody. And people can coexist too. I mean, the city that I live in right now is famous for having a lot of breweries. So they have a lot of beer, and there's like 1 million breweries around here, and they all coexist. Like, they're not trying to take each other out. Like we can do this. Should we jump more into do some more?
Yeah. Someone asked, where can we find the schedule on your website?
Yep. So you're going to want to go to theteamofbl.com/newsletter so that you get all the guides going forward. But if you want to quickly just find that schedule, go to teamofbl.com/free. That's where
Cool.
I archive all of the newsletters.
And
so
I
if you want to
posted
go
the
back
link
and
in the description below as well for the newsletter. So replace
Cool.
newsletter with free, and you'll find it there.
yeah, you'll love
Cool.
that. It's a bunch of stuff.
Nice.
All right, let's try to speed it up here. Some of these are just big topics. So
Yeah.
create a checklist of things to do before and after posting. This goes again with the schedule, but it's like deeper. It's like after you post, maybe you comment on it yourself with a question, like a call to action. You pin it to the post. Maybe you go comment on a few other people's posts who you know and want to support. Maybe you share something in your story. Maybe you basically having this checklist is going to make it so every time you post, it's just faster. Like you don't have to. And also the other thing is you don't want to get stuck doom scrolling on Instagram. So having a plan of like, I get in, I get out, I have my, things I do after is going to keep you more on track. It's going to keep you more focused because there is that. That's one thing about social media that is funny is you can get like stuck. Like you just open the app to post and all of a sudden you've been scrolling for 30 minutes. Like that happens. So having a bit of a plan can make that easier. Okay. DM automations. This is a little bit advanced. I'm just going to touch on this real quick, but you guys probably have seen this where you go onto someone's post and they say, comment the word blank, whatever the word is, to get the link to pre-save my song, or, and I'll DM the first 500 people the link to this song that isn't out before anybody else or whatever. DM automations are so cool and not enough artists are using them. Sorry about that. Scroll back down. Not enough artists are using them. The reason why they're so cool is because of the fact that they help people comment on your posts, which brings more engagement to the post, which pushes the post out to more people. That's the purpose of it, because the problem with link in bio, when you say link in bio, you're actually telling people to leave your post, which is not what you want to do. You want likes, shares, saves, comments. You want people to engage with the post. You don't want them to leave the post. When they leave the post, the engagement goes down and the post gets buried. And then you're like, wow, no one is streaming my new track. Well, because they all, the people that did see it left to go to the link in bio. The other problem with link in bio is it also is kind of like, if, as they say, it's been so you don't even notice it anymore. It's been said so many times that it's just something that's kind of blends in and you forget that someone even said it. It's kind of like when someone says, don't forget to subscribe. And when you're watching YouTube, it's just, you've heard it so many times, you don't really think about it. So this also helps. But another reason why it helps that people don't know about is when someone comments the word, they get a DM automation. So let's say you're trying to get them the link to your track. It will send the DM to them automatically to your track link, etc. And the reason why that's so cool is because now you've started a DM conversation with them, which shows Instagram that you have a deeper connection with that person. So it actually makes it so your content could get pushed to them more often because you now have a deeper connection. Instagram's like, they're messaging and they're commenting and they're following. They must really like this person. So let's connect them more. It also makes it so you can then have that DM conversation. Maybe you follow up with them later and say, thanks, how'd you like the song, etc. So it's a really cool feature that I don't think enough people are using. The website that I use for DM automations is called manychat.com. So manychat.com is also with Instagram, like they work with Instagram. So it's a great site that I just love. I sent actually in the month of January, I triggered 14,000 DM automations,
Wow.
a crazy amount. And it helped me reach so many more people because my post got so many more comments that it pushed it out a lot bigger. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. Keep going.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, make small tweaks every month. The same video could reach 1 to 100x the amount of people depending on how it is posted. Did you use a text hook? Did you use trending audio, or did you have, your song in there? What was the camera angle? What was your lighting? All these kind of things could impact it. But what's interesting too is like sometimes the exact same video with a different text hook could get way more views. So I've done this before. It's called upcycling. So when you reuse a post that you've posted in the past, it's called upcycling. So not recycling, but upcycling, because you're bringing it back up to the top. And when I upcycle, I'll tweak little things. I'll change the hook. I'll change things. And what's really funny is when the same post reaches way more people or way less people depending on the hook. So definitely small tweaks will help you realize what works for your audience. Like if you post a video and it's you in your studio with some like colored lighting and it says, I wrote this song at 2 a.m., imagine it at a club or whatever. Let's say that video pops off. Like it's just huge. You should repeat that video, but a little bit different song, maybe a different color lighting. Maybe instead of saying imagine it at a club, maybe you say imagine it at a festival, but now you sort of have a template. You have like a thing that you have done that works, it's proven, and now you can tweak it and you can try it again. So I have on my Instagram, I'll share this tab again. I have done this like a couple different series. Series again is the same. It's the same thing. It's where you do the same thing over and over with slight variations. And I have a couple series that I do over and over that just work really well. So I have this one where I say you actually don't need Spotify to succeed as a music artist. So that template is you actually don't need blank to succeed as a music artist. And I switch it every time to a different commonly held belief. So it's a commonly held belief that you need Spotify to succeed as a music artist. So my template is the opposite. So you'll see I've done this a few different times. I said, you actually don't need connections to succeed as a music artist. And then I said, you actually don't need a record label to succeed as a music artist. I have another one that says, you actually don't need good music to succeed as a music artist. Now, the funny thing about these posts is that the caption reveals what you do need. So in the good music one, I talk about how good music is the minimum. Of course you need good music, like that's standard, but what you actually need, is to have people that listen to it. For example, like if you want to, make it like your career. If you don't need a record label to see as a music artist, what you actually need, is a community. You actually need, people to show up to your shows. You need, like, basically, this is the kind of post template that I do. You may have realized that a certain post template works really well for you. Like I said, the one where with the colored lighting where you're producing the track. You're trying to find more of those because they're easier for you to repeat, but they're also more predictable for your audience, and they're part of the reason why they started following you in the first place. So for example, let's say you watch a TV show for a certain reason. Like it has the action, really actionable show, great car chases. That's why you started watching it. And then you watch the next episode and it's the exact opposite. You're not going to be happy. You came for the car chases. You came for the action. So it's the same thing with your socials and your audience. They get used to something. They come for something. They're there for something. Your music, your style, your aesthetic, your whatever. And so that's where the series come into play. And I think I talk about that later in here. So that I'm kind of skipping ahead here, but there's another one. Nice.
Yeah, I saw this guy on TikTok where he made. I saw his first TikTok where he just started mumbling to people.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen this guy, but like. It took off, and then he just kept repeating it with different people.
Yeah.
And now that's all he does.
Yeah, exactly. And if you notice something works, why not tweak it and make it your thing? It just makes things so much easier. And again, you can change, you can evolve. You're going to do that over time. Like you see that with artists, and that's why some people say like, oh, I miss the old Deadmau5 or the old whoever. Like I like their original stuff. That's going to happen. You're going to change over time. So, but these are just strategies to try to make things a little bit easier for you to repeat what works.
Right on.
All right, write a bio that gets your target audience to follow. I'm going to be very quick on this one, but for example, if you do sound design tips, someone sees a video of your sound design tip, they go to your profile, they want to learn sound design, and your bio says, new sound design tips every day, or I teach sound design to beginners, or something around that nature, they're probably going to follow. Like you make sense. They wanted to learn sound design. They saw your post, they came to your profile, and it says what you do and they get it and it makes sense. The problem happens when you do sound design tips, they come to your profile and your bio doesn't say anything about that. It says like, I like to make food and take long walks on the beach. Now all of a sudden they're like, wait a second. I came here for sound design tips and this bio is telling me something else. Maybe it's not about that. Maybe they just did this post once. Maybe that's not what the profile is about. I'm not going to follow. Basically, your goal is to make your profile an easy yes, an easy follow decision, a no-brainer for your target person. So again, you're not necessarily maybe you're not doing sound design tips. Maybe you a DJ and you do remixes. Maybe you are a folk singer and you just like to spread good vibes, or maybe you, whatever. Put that in your bio. Think about what your target person, the person that you ideally want to be your person, would want to hear in that bio, and think about how you phrase that. Number 18, optimize your post to get new followers. So remember the fact that, just try to remember this one. Your posts are for new followers. Your stories are for current followers. Sometimes your posts can be for current followers. Every once in a while, you can throw out something that they would all, relate to or know about. But the whole thing with posting is that your goal is that it does well enough that the algorithm pushes it out to new people. So if you imagine that new people are watching your videos, that means that maybe you don't want to be like, giving inside jokes that they wouldn't know. Maybe you wouldn't want to be, you want to basically, like, the reason why you see a lot of people almost like reintroducing themselves, telling you about themselves a lot in their reels, is because they know new people are watching and they're trying to bring those new people in. In your stories, you can go deeper. You can do behind the scenes. You can do live streams. You can do all sorts of things to like deepen that connection with your people that already follow you. But just to keep that in mind to optimize your post to get new followers. Okay. Prioritize Instagram stories for existing followers. We just talked about that. We talked about don't try to fake it till you make it. We talked about series a little bit, but this is a good one. So create 2 to 3 content series that you can repeat. I think that's really helpful. So if you do mashups often, let's say you're a DJ and you're pretty consistently doing mashups. One of your series could be a mashup. One of your series could be, something else. Maybe you're doing DJ tips. Maybe it's lifestyle, you going to the club, day in the life. Like, you can create different series, but your series could also just be like, it could be as simple as if you're doing the sound design coaching, it could be like one of your series is you teach how to do leads. One of your series is you teach how to do basses. Like, you could have, it could be pretty simple too, like that as well. But again, one of your series could be, you showing tracks on your DAW in your room and vibing out to it, to the drop. Oh, also a funny point is, people feel awkward vibing out to a track on video. Like, you put your phone on a tripod and you play your drop and you kind of look at the camera and you kind of like head nod or whatever. And people feel awkward doing this, which makes sense to me. I get that feels awkward because you're alone in your room and nobody's there. But the interesting thing about it is, if someone was there, like if you invited a friend over to hear your new track and you were really excited to show it to them and you press play and you look at them, naturally you are going to vibe out to it. That's what you do. You play the track for them in the car. You're like, oh, you got to hear this. You head nod. So it's funny that we're hard on ourselves for doing that on social media, because it's what we do in real life. It's nothing different. Yeah.
Nice.
All right. We got a couple more, but you want to do some more questions?
Let's see. James asks, question for Lucas. Do you think the social media bubble for music will burst if consumers become less interested in streaming? Also, are podcasts oversaturated at this point or still a good option?
Podcasts are tough. Podcasts are really tough.
Yeah.
That's a different topic. But if I just think the thing about podcasts is it's its own breed. It's kind of like we talked about with, you need to know your platforms. Podcast is its own thing you need to know. Like, you need to know what makes a podcast great. A lot of people just start one to start one, and then they, it doesn't really do anything, and they're just kind of hoping that it'll pick up. It takes some research. It takes a topic also that is something that's going to connect with an audience. The interesting thing about streaming is that, and on the first question you had, is what we're seeing is that TikTok and Instagram are really the new streaming platform. So even the songs that are on Spotify are usually big on Spotify now because they were big on TikTok or Instagram first. And a lot of people have mixed opinions on that, but that's kind of the direction, and that could be another discussion.
I'm just
but
not
that's
sure
kind of the direction that we're
if
going.
James is meaning streaming as in live streaming or streaming music from Spotify.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah. I mean, live streaming for sure isn't exactly what it used to be. You can kind of tell what's going on based on what is being pushed. So, right. For example, Instagram was pushing live for a while to the point that they were actually paying people to go live. I don't know if you guys remember this a couple of years ago. They were actually paying people to go live. That's not really a thing anymore. That's why you're seeing, like, when someone does go live, there's not usually a whole bunch of people on there. But, there's different platforms, right? So Discord's really good for going live. And building community. So maybe that's where you want to go, or Twitch or something like that. So
speaking of, on Instagram, a lot of people are joining and leaving, which is normal because they're on a mobile device. SirDuke.wav says, is there a link to this whole video? This is great stuff. So yes, this will be on our YouTube channel if you want to watch it again.
Love it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, I'll do a couple more here, and then we'll just do some questions.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, focus on building a funnel. This one, again, some of these are too complex, for us to really peel back the onion on. But again, I do guides on these individual topics on my newsletter. But focus on building a funnel is basically imagining what path you would take that avatar on that is your target audience. So if you, and again, I'm just going to use this example because it's easy, but let's say your target audience is, this person that wants to learn sound design. They're a beginner. They don't really know about it. What is the funnel that gets them from point A, where they just find out about you, to point B, where you want them to end up? You need to know where you want them to end up first. And a funnel is more than just following you. It's like, maybe they end up on your newsletter, or maybe they end up on your Discord, or maybe they end up coming to one of your shows, or maybe they end up, like, it's kind of deeper. It's like what happens after they follow you. It's a path. So let's say new sound design person sees one of your Instagram reels. Okay. They like it. They follow you. Now what happens next? Maybe they go click the link in your bio, or they do a DM automation and they're on your website. Maybe from there, they're purchasing your presets, or they're joining your newsletter, or they're, downloading a free guide. And then from there, where do they go? So you can continually build this funnel. And the reason why it matters is just because it makes you think about the funnel. It makes you think about the path and create the path. And when you create the path, you figure out how to get people from this point to this point. So for me, people come see my Instagram post, they learn about social media tips, they come maybe follow me, and then maybe they get my newsletter. And so it's like this path. And so that's kind of where you want to think about that. And it could end, again, like I said, with people coming to your shows, buying your merch, whatever. So
yeah, it's just continuous. Continuous touch points. Like, they come across a reel, they subscribe, then they come across another reel, then they click your link. Like you said, they're going down the funnel until, a standard marketing funnel would end in purchase and then, repurchasing. So
yeah, maybe for this one, maybe for an artist, it's different. Maybe unless you do have things that people purchase. Like, and let's say, again, if you're doing the sound design coaching, maybe you have a one-on-one call and that's the end of the funnel. But if you're trying to get your music out there, maybe part of it is that they stream your song or pre-save your song and then come to your show, and then that kind of thing. So it could be different options there. Start a simple newsletter and build an email list. The reason why newsletters are so cool, most people think they're old school and that they're, they just don't really know why they would focus on them. Just think about this. Newsletters have no algorithm. So that's already the win. Like, nobody is going to sit there and go, hey, this person's not going to get your email because you aren't using hashtags. You don't have to worry about that when it comes to the newsletter. Obviously they can unsubscribe, and it could go into their spam or whatever. But the main thing is that you have those contacts. And the reason why it's so cool to have a newsletter is because even if you don't know what it's for now, like, you may be like, why should I start that? I don't really know why I need that. Well, maybe a year from now, you are going on tour and you actually would like to email everyone your ticket link. You would like to email everyone, more about your shows, but you haven't started the newsletter yet, and now you have to start it when you needed it before. So one thing that we did with me, even when I was starting just as a music artist, is I started promoting 10 tracks a week. I would tell people, because most of my audience was music artists, like producers, because I was doing like tutorials and stuff like that. I told people, send me your song, your SoundCloud song or your link or whatever, and I'll choose my 10 favorites and I'll shout them out each week. And when they did that, they subscribed to my newsletter. And I didn't even know it at the time, but that helped me build a really large newsletter over the years. You can do the same thing if you have your own radio show, like a DJ radio show. Or maybe, again, like I said, if you're the sound design person, you want to do free guides. They get that if they subscribe to the newsletter, or if you just want to say stay updated. But newsletters are also really a lot easier to grow if you have a clear thing that your target audience would want. Maybe it's like the free version of your mashup or your remix. Maybe it's your track early in their inbox. They get the file or the extended edit that no one else gets. Whatever. You can think about the reason for it. You honestly don't even have to send out the actual newsletter. You could just collect the emails to start. You don't have to know what it's for. So it's just helpful to have the emails in the first place. Imagine if your Instagram got hacked and deleted, or just got deleted. I've heard this happen tons of times from artists. Now you have this email list. You can email them all, let them know what happened, get people over. If you don't have that, it could be tough. Let's do the last one, and then we'll just, because it's kind of a wrap up of everything, and then we'll do some more questions, which is that really growth on social media, if you really want to boil it down, the math is consistency plus small tweaks plus time equals growth. So being consistent, it's like posting, looking at what worked, what didn't, tweaking that, posting again, and it repeats. So it's the same thing with your music. You're trying to practice consistently. You're trying to improve little things. Maybe your mixing was off. Maybe your mastering was off. Maybe your songwriting, music theory is not there. You don't know how to use certain plugins. You're tweaking. Time is happening. You're getting better and better, and it equals growth. And that's another funny thing too, is that social media posts that do well and songs that do well follow the same recipe. They're catchy. They're memorable. They're relatable. They're nostalgic. They have these same traits. And if you think about it in that way, it's actually not as complicated. It's not as this mysterious being. Like, they have the same elements. Like, yeah, you got to have a catchy hook in your post because you got to have a catchy hook in your song. Of course, you don't have to do that, but the ones that do that tend to reach more people more often. You still need to be authentic though, right? You got to be unique. You got to stand out. Same thing with music, social media music, same thing. So, just things that that I've gathered over the years.
Nice. Yeah, that's it's 100% true. Like, you just have to keep doing it, keep improving, and over time you will grow. And there's, the only thing stopping you is if you stop. Literally. It's really like a stop and go kind of situation.
Yeah, and if you were watching this whole stream, I mean, that already shows that you're committed. So that's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. If you have any questions, throw them in the chat. I think there was a few that I didn't get to that I'll get to now. Let's see. I think someone asked, is Facebook dead in terms of music promotion?
I mean, I don't use Facebook, if that tells you anything, but again, it has to do with your age range. If you're going for an older audience, not necessarily too much older, but if you're going for, like, let's say your audience is in their 40s, Facebook might be big. That might be a big one for you. But if your audience is 18, it's probably not going to be Facebook. But also overseas, if you're not in the US and you're not in North America, overseas, Facebook is more popular. There's certain countries where Facebook is the biggest platform, even with younger people. So it just depends on a couple factors like that.
Right. So knowing your audience and your niche, I think, will determine your platform. And a lot of the reels are shared through Facebook too now, because it's all like connected under the same Meta umbrella. Let's see here.
And Facebook is surprisingly still growing. So people that think it's dead, like, again, it's more popular in other countries. It's more popular with certain age ranges, but it actually is still adding users.
Right. Chest Cavity says, once you have some growth, the cool thing is now you're excited to keep going. Kind of feel like it keeps you accountable to show up every day and stay on schedule. Yeah,
and another thing to add to that is that you will have lulls, meaning like, periods where it doesn't really do as well. So even for me, I've had it where, like, for 2 weeks straight, and that's a long time for me because I post almost every day. But again, you can post less. You can post 2 to 3 times a week. But I post like every day except for Sunday. I take that off. But sometimes I'll have it where, like, 2 weeks straight, my average post numbers are way down, and your mind, like, goes different places. Oh, the algorithm doesn't like me. Oh, maybe I don't got it anymore. Maybe trends have changed. What's happening? And then you'll have a post that pops off after 2 weeks. You keep going, and it comes back. So it's interesting how what that takes you on, but that's where not being so emotional and, like, try not to get into, like, reading into the details too much. Oh, I shouldn't have edited my caption. I shouldn't have changed my thumbnail. I shouldn't have switched my hashtags. It's ruined it. Sometimes it's not that at all. And sometimes even a post that I posted that didn't do well, like, first day it had way less than my average views, ends up popping off and doing really well. So the details aren't as important. It's more about the systems. It's the consistency. It's the, tweaking over time, all that stuff.
Nice. Sean Burgeon says, can I hire someone to do this for me? And I'm sure.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, Lander, obviously I don't want to promote myself on here too much because I do a lot of this stuff that you're talking about, but also I'm doing more work with Lander coming up here. So I'm really excited about that. You'll be able to access more social media tips and content from me via Lander. So yeah, spoiler alert, I guess.
Nice. Yeah, I wasn't sure if we would mention that, but yes, exciting stuff coming up. You can hire. I think he means like, can I hire someone to film me and edit me and all of that? And that's always a possibility.
It always is a possibility.
I think there are pros and cons of that in a sense
For
where.
sure.
It takes some of the weight off your shoulders, but then you might not get that genuine factor that might actually help you. So
Yeah.
I think there's pros and cons to it. You might get a more polished look off the bat, but then you're kind of sacrificing the genuinity that might come with an unpolished look, right? So
And what was that person's name again that asked that question?
that
Sorry if you don't remember.
was Sean Burgeon.
Okay, Sean, I have one tip for you that I've learned over the years myself in that vein, because I've also hired people and not hired people and gone through different waves. My advice for you now, after all these years, is to make your content so simple that you can film it yourself. So get it to be to a point where it is just like this easiest system ever. Like if you don't, for example, for everyone watching, if you're watching and you suck at editing and that's what's holding you back, make your videos just one shot, no edits. If you don't have time, make your videos so simple it takes you 10 minutes to post. If you basically get a system down to where it's simple enough for you to keep up before you consider hiring someone else. That's my advice, because get it down first like that and then kind of grow from there. It's the same advice as like, just start on Instagram or just start on one platform and move your way out. And I think you'll learn a lot from that.
Nice. Yeah, one more question. I think this was one that I missed was Deacon asked, any advice on promoting songs? Sorry, the heart's in the way of me reading this. Promoting songs on social media that are already published. That's a good question.
You can definitely recycle your old songs and re-promote them. One thing that could be really cool to do in that case, there's some different ideas here, but just one idea is you could remix or mash up your song that's already published with another song that people know. I don't think people do this enough, and I think it's super helpful because, for example, I just saw a post recently where someone did a Dark Knight remix, and they did it with their song, which was dark techno. So they produced dark techno, so they remixed it with Dark Knight. So here's the thing. I don't listen to a lot of dark techno, but I know what Dark Knight is. I love that movie. So when that got pitched to me, I saw Dark Knight, and then ... And I'm like, what's this going to be? And then it's like, it's dark techno. So Dark Knight, but it's dark techno. All of a sudden, I'm a fan of this person. I wouldn't have been a fan otherwise. And I'm actually not sure in that post scenario if the song they were promoting that was their song was released or not, but it doesn't really matter. It could be released or not released.
Yeah, like you could just strip the melody.
Yeah.
Chuck in a popular melody over top of your instrumental. It's a good idea. Easy to do. And then people will be like, oh, I want to hear the original kind of thing. So, yeah. Cool. Well, I don't see any more questions, so I guess we'll wrap it up. Thanks so much for joining us here on the stream, Lucas. I really appreciate it. I learned a lot, and it confirmed some suspicions that I had as well as I kind of go through this journey. And yeah, I mean, thank you so much. If anyone looking to connect with Lucas, his newsletter is in the description. And as well, I'll put in the Lander Premium courses that kind of relate to this topic. We just released a Spotify course on how to use Spotify for artists. And it talks a lot about the same things, but on a more broad scale. So definitely check that out. And we'll have you back, I'm sure, once we kind of go through this content journey together. Yeah.
Yeah, and thank you so much to everyone for coming, and I'm so excited to watch you guys grow. Let me know if you do come on my Instagram or anything. Let me know and be like, I was on the Lander masterclass. I always love hearing that. And also just know that the Lander team is amazing. I've had the pleasure of meeting and working with them, and they're some of the most down-to-earth, easy to work with, respectable people, and I just had the greatest time working with them. So yeah, thanks so much, Anthony, for being my co-host here and for making this such a good experience.
Yeah, thank you again. And thanks, everyone, for tuning in. I appreciate your time. And we'll be live, hopefully, weekly, because we're going to be consistent with this and grow it,
There you go. Build the system.
Same advice. Yeah, exactly. So we're streaming every week, Thursdays. It seems like 1 p.m. is a good time for us, too. So we'll try some different times. But yeah, thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, Lucas.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Take care, everybody.
All right, see you later.
Bye, Anthony.